What is going on, everybody? We are back for another episode of the Double Switch podcast. What a week. What a crazy week we just had here with the Phils. Joe, our guy Joe, is gone for good and not coming back. We are on to our third manager in this noble quest for the playoffs. And optimism in Philadelphia. We had a pretty good weekend. You know, we swept the Angels, the free-falling Angels, but I mean, it's a sweep nonetheless. Johnny, how are we feeling today?
Optimistic, like you just said, sayonara, Joe. We needed that spark. He wasn't doing it. The players weren't getting up for him. And I don't know what happened this weekend. Could have been a fluke. The Angels are not a good team, everyone. But it's a sweep nonetheless. And it's a spark that we needed at home where we don't play a lot of good ball.
Yeah, Joe's gone now. It's kind of poetic too, because now you look at the Angels, their Joe is gone too. Joe Madden got fired today. And yeah, I mean, the Angels are in free fall mode, but I mean, you still got to go out there and play. And I mean, we put a ton of runs this weekend. The kids were playing. I mean, let's start with that. We saw a bunch of Maton this weekend before he got hurt. Bryson Stott, Bomi, Moniak. Rob Thomson seems to have a different philosophy for how he's going to manage specifically the lineup construction. Joe was one of the people who tended to stray towards the veterans. You know, it got on our nerves for sure. I don't think Rob Thompson's going to do that. I think it's going to be kind of let the kids play here in Philadelphia, and I'm all for it. All for it.
Yeah, you could say that 5 times over. Let the kids play. But yeah, it seems like the difference between how Rob Thomson is going to handle these guys is he's not going to micromanage our prospects and our younger guys when they come up to the big leagues. If they have a bad week, they're gonna be in there every day. They're gonna have to fight through their struggles and become better baseball players. And I think Harper said it well in an interview. The young guys don't need to be looking over their shoulder after they have a couple strikeout game. You got to trust them. I think Thompson's going to trust them and kind of a laissez-faire approach to it.
We talked about this in the offseason, I think, about how these younger players, when they know that they can lose their jobs with an 0-for-4 day, they play a little tense, and it's probably not fun to play like that. And, first day, he came out and said, it's important to get these at-bats for these kids. I think that's probably going to be the biggest change between him and Joe. But, I mean, just comparing the two, what do you think is going to be different with, Rob Thomson in here? There's been a lot of talk about how he has been with Joe for a while now. Some people are worried that it's just going to be Joe 2.0. Where do you think the differences are going to be between the two going forward?
All right, let me shut down that Joe 2.0 because that's a narrative that I've been preaching for a while on Twitter, but I'm wrong. I did my research, and when you look back, Thompson was here before Girardi. I didn't know that at first. He was here. Gabe Kapler and kind of handpicked him. The management did because they thought he'd be a good blend of experience and skill, But what seems like is going to be the big difference is the communication. I think Joe got to a point in his career where he had an ego. He was an egotistical, and he thought because of what he's done, he would win games. But that's not how it works. You have to communicate with your players, and you have to be a good manager. And I think Thomson, he hasn't been a manager, so he's going to have to prove himself. Girardi didn't have to do that.
$1 million question, and I don't expect you to give me the complete answer. Like I said last episode, we were really sure Joe was a good candidate for this job. Why do you think it didn't work?
I think we mixed up the whole, we blamed it on, Kapler's analytical thinking. We thought, we needed, an old-school approach in Philly. But it actually kind of came down just to, the personality type. I don't think we need a large personality in Philly. I think we need the opposite. We need a guy that doesn't say much at all. More of an actions-based guy. That's what Philly's all about. Do, don't say.
That's a good point. You think sharing the clubhouse with Bryce Harper and some of these bigger stars kind of fed into, I don't want to say Joe's ego because, I don't know him personally. Do you think it sometimes was hard for him to really have a grasp on this team because of that specifically?
I mean, for any manager, I mean, even general manager, I mean, like having Bryce Harper part of your team, it's like it's a little bit of a power struggle because what that guy does, everyone listens to. Like, I mean, he's Bryce Harper. Like half the city would take a bullet for him.
Yeah. I actually have a little bit of a hypothesis that I thought about today, and I want to run it by you. Um,
Hit me.
we've had this debate before about how much effect managers have on a team. I don't think this is a tough thing to say, but I don't think Joe's necessarily a good manager, and I think he was kind of thrown into like a perfect spot in New York, and he kind of fed off of that. And looking at Joe Madden too, there's a lot of parallels between the two, but I mean, like Madden kind of came into his own under the Rays in the 2000s, that awesome front office they had, and then he went to Chicago with Theo. I think that these managers that we look at as veterans, um, I think we have to start looking at the situation that they've been put in, especially in today's game, where the front office has so much to do with it. It's not like it used to be, where the managers had like managers used to have a lot of control over the team when before analytics were here, and you had tech people in the front office controlling teams. Managers had a lot of say in those days. I think we should probably start looking at the manager position differently, kind of like what you said, um, with more of a personality fit than the accomplishments and the winning they've done. I think we should kind of throw out um, the accomplishments when we look for our next manager, and I think we should kind of start to think outside the box with that, because I think people are going to start to realize that in the next generation of baseball, that with this front office being the way it is nowadays, the managers don't matter as much. You should kind of find a guy that fits the mood of that clubhouse.
Yeah, no, I think you're right, and I think we kind of see that with our close friends, the New York Mets. Like we talked last week about how Buck Showalter he's never been a winner necessarily. I mean, a couple years with the Orioles, they got to the playoffs, I believe, but
Exactly.
no World Series. But the whole clubhouse loves him. I mean, they all say that he sticks up for them. He's funny. They think that's awesome. Like, he doesn't take life too seriously, I think the players need that. I mean, they don't like the Phillies. Like some of these games, they look miserable. They look like they're working a 9 to 5 and they want to go home. Now it looks like they're having fun. They're playing loose. Hopefully, we keep that up.
Yeah, we looked at Joe because he was a proven winner in a big market, and it ended up not working. I guess it's probably easy to say now. We're not going to look back on the Joe Girardi tenure here fondly, are we?
No,
It
no, I
was
don't think we will.
it was a kind of a fail, wasn't it?
All right, this is a little off topic. Does Joe go somewhere else and win a World Series the next year?
I think Joe's done. I really do think Joe's done.
I
Um,
think he's going MLB Network, Showbiz Joe.
yeah, I was thinking about it in my car ride today. I kind of it's like a metaphor for the Phils. Like, imagine all the players are um, like the students, and Joe's the teacher. Like those students, no matter how much they want to learn, they're never going to learn anything unless the teacher, in this situation Joe, is really into it. And just imagine like a teacher being ready to like retire, or like he doesn't like his job or something. There's only so much you're going to be able to do with that class. There's only so much everybody's going to be able to get out of that. And that's kind of how I thought Joe was like a teacher who's like going to like retire here soon and move on. I think he's done. I think there's a much better chance we see him on MLB Network before we see him managing another team, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think he might have started to realize that maybe managing isn't what he wanted.
Yeah, I think that's definitely fair to say. Let's reflect now on this weekend.
I'd love to.
Offense seems to be back. Everybody's playing loose. Let's start with Schwarber. Schwarber's heating up clearly. Last year, we saw him go on his hot streak in June. Do you think that's something that we can expect coming up? Do you think he's about to get hot, and do you think he's like a warm weather player? And he's one of those seasonal players that finds success as the season rolls on.
Yeah, I mean, generally, sluggers like hitting in the warmer weather, not in March and October. Those are usually the harder months for power hitters. But yeah, I think this June, July, we could definitely see the same thing from Schwarber. He's been pretty consistent throughout his career with who he is as a player. And I'm not really expecting anything different.
Yeah, I'll throw Schwarber in with Harper and JT. It seems like some of the veterans heating up. Would you agree?
Yeah, no, definitely was nice to see JT swing a little bit better.
Yeah,
I know you were probably happy to see that too.
man, I thought I'd never see the day before that I saw him actually succeed with the bat again. I was getting really worried, but he seems to be finding his stroke a little bit. I don't think the power's going to be anything like we're used to. There's been research done with the ball this year that opposite field home runs are not as common this year. So that some of those players that hit a lot of oppo home runs, they're not really finding their power stroke. JT, one of those guys. So unless he starts yanking the ball down the line, I don't think we're going to see 20 homer JT anymore.
I guess those baseballs didn't affect Bryce Harper when he hit 2 oppo.
No, I don't think anything affects Bryce Harper, and I don't think he's even hot right now. I think this is just Bryce Harper.
I think this is just a daily, regular Harper.
I think here's a good question for you. I've seen a lot of debate on social media. Trout's had the better career so far. Who's the better player right now between the two?
You're right. I've seen that all
Yeah,
over
it's
the
a good
place.
one. And I was thinking about it, and I couldn't. It's tough because I
It's
see the
really
argument
hard.
from both sides.
Yeah, I don't have a crazy strong opinion about this, but I still think Trout.
Do you?
He is the better defensive player. I would say like base runner, but he's not an aggressive base runner at this point. He's kind of eased off that whole phase. But I still think Trout. I know we saw him go through an 0 for 26 this weekend, but when that guy gets hot too, he's Mike Trout.
How many fantasy points did he get you last week with his 0 for 26?
1 or 2, maybe from a walk. Actually, probably not because he struck out so many times.
Yeah, he had a rough week, but
Yeah, it was tough.
it's an interesting question. Who do you think's the better hitter right now?
Harper.
You think Harper's better? Trout's a better
I
player?
think the better question to ask me would be from an offensive perspective. Get rid of defense. Who's the better player? I think Harper.
I don't want to go too off track with this because that's not really what our episode's about. How many hitters in baseball do you think are actually better than Bryce right now? Do you think it's three or four?
Yeah, maybe like you think Judge is better, and maybe like Jose Ramirez.
I think Soto's better.
Yeah, pure hitter, I would say.
I think Freddie Freeman's a better pure hitter, right?
I don't.
You don't think Freddie Freeman's a better pure hitter? You think Vladdy's a better pure hitter?
I don't.
Really? Do you think Soto's a better pure hitter?
Yeah, definitely.
Do you think it's Soto Harper?
I think it's Soto Ramirez Harper.
Ramirez is a good one. Ramirez is.
You can't count him out. He is just so consistent with the bat.
Yeah, and he's always underrated in Cleveland,
and his strikeouts aren't as high as a lot of the stars too.
He keeps getting better too. It feels like just an absolute monster.
I mean, same with Harper and Soto. That's my big three right now in baseball.
Yeah, I mean, I don't Acuna. You think a healthy Acuna's in that tier?
I think he's behind them, but he's probably up in that somewhere in that top 5.
It's an interesting question. We're getting so sidetracked here, but
let's get off this.
The veterans are heating up. Trout had a terrible return to South Jersey. The Angels had a terrible trip to Philadelphia. It was just a rough week for them. Can't stress that enough. But yeah, no, team has more energy. The younger kids, Moniak, Stott, Bohm, and Maton's hurt right now, so we can't really throw him in there. Do you think these guys are going to be able to find their stride going forward? Do you think this is really going to make a difference in the chronicles of their careers, their young careers.
Yeah, I think this weekend was a big step for all of them. We were at the game Friday, and we saw all of them play really good ball. We saw Stott have his first career home run. That was awesome. We saw Nick Maton play with like his hair was on fire. I mean, that guy was hustling. Kind of felt like Otley for a little bit. Not gonna make that comparison, but like the energy was there.
The lefty at second base, I could see it.
Yeah, that's the hustle. I like the hustle. And yeah, Moniak too. I mean, these guys they're playing with a lot of energy. I mean, they're young. As long as they stay healthy, I think these guys are going to make a huge difference. And I think their youth kind of like it rubs off on some of our veterans because then they have fun because they see the young guys like having these accomplishments for the first time and they feed off that too. They love that.
Yeah, and it's something that we probably haven't even thought about. It probably helps them playing together because I'm sure it's tough for Alec Boehm. Like he's 4 or 5 years younger than everybody else. He's the youngest player on the field. You start surrounding him with Stott and Moniak and Maton, and these are guys that he's used to playing with. They're kind of in similar positions. Um, Feels familiar. You can play looser, and you can play with some more energy. And I think it's definitely going to help. The depth right now, it's being tested in a big way. You saw Maton go down. You saw Camargo go down. We saw an old friend get called up.
Old buddy Scotty Jetpacks.
Scotty Jetpacks is back, and he probably was not expecting to be here. Do you think he gets serious at bats up here, or do you think he's just gonna ride the bench until someone gets healthy? I want to see him succeed more than anybody, and I hope he does. He's always been one of those guys I'm rooting for. What's the future hold for Scotty?
Well, first of all, it's kind of a miracle that like the injuries lined up in the way that they did. Because I remember someone like tweeted like 2 weeks ago, like it would take a miracle for Scott Kingery to get onto this team. And then like two infield injuries like later, like here he is. But to answer your question, I think he's going to see a lot of bench time. I think he's going to fill. I think he could be valuable to fill in center field. I think he could probably. I'd see him getting like a start against like a lefty and play some center field.
Now, he got added to the 40 man, right? That's how that has to work for him to be here.
Yep.
So I guess Quinn got booted, and I guess
he's a designated free agent.
Yeah, he's a free agent now. There's no like Scotty's got the job now in the 40 man, right? Like we don't have any. We can't really risk sending him back down and having him go through waivers again, right? Because then our depth is really absolutely destroyed. So he might actually find a role here on this team for the time being. He might get a look as a fourth outfielder, extra infielder type, right?
This is the perfect opportunity for him to become the super utility man that we thought he could be. I think that's the only role that he could have on this team is if he starts playing. Bring all your gloves to the ballpark because you don't know where you're going to play. But yeah, I think the stars are lining up perfectly for him.
How's he been hitting?
Awful. Yeah, I believe his average was like 174 on base percentage under 300. But he's only because he got shoulder surgery just like in over the winter. So he's only been in Lehigh Valley for 2 weeks. So it's a small sample size, but he's got a new shoulder, which is good. Can't hurt.
Yeah, hopefully he has a new swing too.
Hey, come on, be nice. We like Scotty.
Yeah, we like Scotty.
I mean, obviously, guys, we got to keep the expectations very low, and then be surprised if he starts balling out. But yeah, don't expect too much, everyone.
Yeah, so Scotty's probably going to play the bench role for now. Didi's back. That means that Didi's going to find his way into the lineup. Are you worried that the crunch of middle infielders we have is going to lead to less playing time for Nick Maton when he comes back, or do you think the short week he had last week kind of bought him some playing time going forward?
That's a good question.
Who's
Because
going to have this playing time when they're all healthy? Let's open that question up a little bit. Out of the four
actually,
middle infielders,
so I thought about that today actually when I was bored as hell at work. Um, I th- sorry, I think when Didi got activated, we saw Rob Thomson was going to bench him that game
mm-hmm.
just to get him acquainted to things. So I have a gut feeling, and we haven't really seen enough to prove it because a lot of the players have gotten injured. But I don't think Thompson favors Didi over some of these young guys. So I think when Maton comes back, I think that second base could be his job, and I think Stott might slide back to short, and I think Didi might be a bench bat.
What do you think the likelihood of that is? Give me like a percentage of him moving to the bench.
I'm gonna say it's 60% chance he does.
Okay, so you're not sure. Yeah, you're just leaning that way.
Yeah, because we didn't get a ton of like signals, but just when he got like activated, I thought it was a little bit funny that he wasn't starting right away. Because Joe would have started him right away. Didi's
Yeah,
back, like get him in the lineup.
I think Stott's probably bought himself a position. I don't know where it's going to be yet, but I think he's probably won himself one of those middle infield spots going forward. I'm a little less optimistic about Maton's playing time. Um, I wouldn't be surprised actually if he got sent back down when Camargo gets healthy. Because we have the four infielders, assuming Stott plays second, and they're going to want Maton to get regular at bats. But if he can continue to hit, it makes the offseason question of Gene's contract kind of interesting because we know Gene's one of the better hitters on this team, but Gene's also getting older, and Gene's also playing himself into a nice amount of money. He's been a good bat for a really long time. I'm not saying we should, just bail on Gene in favor of the younger guy, but if he comes back and hits Maton, that is, it does, it poses some interesting questions. That's kind of where I'm getting at with that.
Yeah, no, but you gotta keep in mind Gene's owed would have to be paid $17.5 million next year. Nick Maton, not much.
I think
That's a,
isn't that a team option
for I know
for
Didi's is.
for
I don't know
Gene?
if Gene's is.
I'm not
I,
sure.
I, I think it's a club option. I think they
You
both
think it's
are.
club option?
Or no,
Yeah,
it is. It is. It is. It is.
it is.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, that's interesting because that's a really really cheap infield, and if you can somehow fill three positions with what are they even making, like less than $1 million, and we still have that hole in center field, or I mean, I don't even know if we'll have a hole with Mickey. I don't know. It just frees up money that we can obviously use somewhere, and it's interesting. It's a very interesting question, but we can't really have a grasp on that until everybody gets healthy and we see how he does when he comes back. Um,
Yeah, you're right.
the other big question I had for you that I wanted to get to, I think it's time for Sir Anthony to close. I
I've
think
been
the
hearing a
time.
lot of that lately.
I think the time is now, and I think Knable probably could, be a really effective middle reliever. I think they could both do each other's roles. I just think Sir Anthony might be a little more stable in that closer spot.
Yeah, I hear you. I was one of the few I think that's been kind of holding out for Knable. I kind of still do think that he's going to like turn it around. I think he's got a very short memory. I think it bothers a lot of people that like because I think a lot of people have been taking it the wrong way when he's like, I'm not having a bad month, but like you don't want a closer to think about how bad his month was. That's not how you become a good closer. You have to forget stuff. Um, yeah, but you know how I feel about Sir Anthony. The guy's stuff is just better. Knable's kind of a one-trick pony with the curveball. And if that's not if he has to rely on just his fastball and the curveball is not like he's not locating it, he's gonna blow a save. So I think for that reason he's got to be a seventh or eighth inning guy. And I think Sir Anthony should take it over. And I actually think Sir Anthony might see less innings of work as closer, and Knable might see more innings, which I think would be good for both of them.
You're right. Knable's curveball, I don't think it's full in as many hitters this year. I don't have stats to back that up, but it just seems that he's a little more predictable. I watched videos of him last year, and he seemed to get some more swings. It seems like people are putting together really good swings on him this year. I don't know if that's stuff or what's going on there. And Sir Anthony, I love his demeanor, dude. I just love how he goes out there, and you can't really even tell what he's thinking. He's just out there to pitch. And a couple of years ago, we forget Sir Anthony was really effective as a closer. And there was talk about we had back then we were thinking we had a closer for the next 3 or 4 years who sits about 97, and it was fun. It was fun to think that, and he's here and he's back and he's healthy. I think the time is now for that decision to be made. And it's tricky because I hear a lot of support for leaving Sir Anthony out of that role, just because the hardest 3 outs to get are obviously the last 3, but the most strategically important outs usually aren't the last 3. They usually come in the 6th, 7th inning. I saw the Mets, they used Edwin Diaz to get the top of the Dodgers lineup on Sunday, and Adonis Medina closed it out, and it worked. Well, actually, they blew the save, and then Adonis Medina closed it out in the 10th. But that's besides the point. Diaz came in and he got Mookie, Freeman, and Trey Turner, and it's nice having that arm in Sir Anthony to have that flexibility to kind of move him around as needed. It's an interesting question. I don't really know which way I'm leaning with it.
No, I think it would make sense to give it a try now.
I'm sick of seeing Knable blow games. It's kind of getting old. You can only kind of give a guy so much time to work it out, right?
Yeah,
he's not been bad, but like a 3.5 ERA, and he's got 3 blown saves, and they seem to be like pretty painful blown saves, and I'm kind of just over it.
Yeah, no, and you're right with the demeanor. It seems like he's comes in there and he thinks a lot. I think a lot of the walks kind of signal that he doesn't have the same demeanor Sir Anthony does. Sir Anthony just comes in and pounds the strike zone with high 90s stuff and then a wipeout slider. That just screams, that's my closer.
Yeah, I'm ready for it, and hopefully we get to see that change soon. How are we looking this week? We got the Brewers coming up. How you feeling about this series? How you feeling about the team this week, really?
Well, so the Angels were on a 12-game, well, after us, they were on a 12-game losing streak. The Brewers are not that team. Brewers, I don't think the Brewers will lose
They're a little
6 straight
better.
games. They will not lose 6 straight games this whole year. They have a top 5 rotation and a top 5 bullpen. We're going to have to score runs because those runs matter. They're not going to give us a lot of them. But I kind of like our first 2 pitching matchups. Tonight we have Jason Alexander making a second start ever. Jason Alexander, if anyone watches Seinfeld, that's George Costanza's name. And then tomorrow we have Nola versus Adrian Hauser, which should be a good matchup.
I think the top 5 rotation's a little deceiving, especially now after you name those 2. When healthy, they have a top 5 rotation.
Yeah. Well, they have Brandon Woodruff, but he's injured, and we don't have to see him.
Freddie Peralta's injured too. They're actually kind of weak right now.
Yeah, we're seeing him at a good time.
They're getting Renfroe back, who's a big bat in their lineup. We have Corbin Burns Thursday. You said Friday.
I guess. Then it's it's Thursday. Corbin Burns versus Zach Eflin.
Oh God.
But they're also missing Willie Adames and Omar Navarez, their catcher.
What do you think? 2 out of 3?
I think we get the first 2. I think we get shit on by Corbin Burns.
Yeah, no, that's fair. A lot of teams get shit on by Corbin Burns.
He's good at baseball.
Yeah, that guy can pitch, but no, it's good. I kind of wish we didn't have this off day last night because I kind of just wanted to keep it going.
I don't want to fizzle out.
Yeah, just ride the hot streak until we lose, and then give us a day off, right?
Yeah, but hey, maybe the guys did something fun on the off day together.
Yeah. Painter up to Jersey Shore. Are we gonna go see him here soon?
When's the first start?
I don't know, but I was looking at that roster, dude, and they have some pieces there. They do. Dude, they have Abel, McGarry, Painter, Rojas. That like out of all our teams in the minors, that's probably the one people want to see if they're trying to see the Phillies minor
Yeah,
league system.
and we're lucky enough to be located just 35, 40 minutes away from that.
Yeah, no, we'll get out there and see him soon. I'm excited by what he's doing and what Abel's doing.
Did you expect him to get called up that quick?
Not really, but I mean, the guy's just dominated everything. Like he's unhittable, really. It's got to be
Yeah.
weird seeing. It's got to be weird seeing 6'7" come at you. You know, it's probably very uncomfortable at bat.
He's pretty much over the top too, like that 3/4 over the top. Like,
Yeah, that probably feels like it's coming like straight down on you when you're batting.
yeah,
It's probably really hard to get under it or get on top of it. I mean, you know, when it's coming down like that. But no, he's good. You got any last thoughts you want to hit before we wrap it up here? Doing
I
good
do.
on time.
I want you to give me one word to explain how that game on Sunday made you feel.
That's a good one. Um, rejuvenated.
It's a good word.
I thought that was going to be the game. You know, we've seen this happen where we've put some success together and, you know, we blow it. And I think the older team would have blown it. You know, I think, you know, we will never know. But I think if Joe is managing, you know, that team doesn't fight there and they don't come back. But this doesn't look like the same team. It doesn't feel like the same team. And it gives me a reason to believe that, you know, the season starts now. Put everything that's happened behind us, look forward, and, you know, there's wild card spots that we can take. You know, it's not like we're not in a good spot, especially in divisional terms. The Mets keep finding ways to win. You know, they keep getting hurt and just finding ways to win. So that's quite the accomplishment on their behalf. But the wild card spots are here for the taking. We have arguably the best lineup in that wild card race. We have one of the better pitching staffs in that wild card race, and if someone finds us in a wild card game, they're not going to be, you know, too happy about it because, you know, we could easily put up a crooked number, and you have to face Zach Wheeler, which is never fun. All the reasons for doubt I had last week, kind of putting them aside a little bit, and I feel, you know, I kind of feel like a new person right now, a new fan.
Yeah, no, me too. I felt electrified.
That's a good one.
I really, yeah, no, I felt good about that, and I agree. I don't think under Joe Girardi, I don't think we would have stayed in that game. I mean,
you're right.
Just that,
You're absolutely
and then, I mean, the Harper home run was one thing. When the minute he like hit that, I felt like we had a new birth to this season. I was like, yeah, like I forgot all of the blown saves. I forgot we got no hit by the Mets for a second. Yeah,
I actually forgot that, and like that was out of my memory until you just brought it up again. So thank you for that.
right. I bet a lot of Philly fans forgot about all the Mets tragedies we've had already this season when Harper hit that home run, because now we know what this team can do. We forgot for a little bit.
You're right, and I think
ahead.
we also forgot about Bryson Stott. You know, like that's a player who he got off to a rough start, and I feel like a lot of people forgot what Bryson Stott's capable of and what he's done. You know, and that was kind of his signature moment in his young career so far. But Bryson Stott can hit, and we saw it this weekend: 6 for 18, 2 home runs. It's huge. It's absolutely huge because that's just depth in this lineup that it's already a tough lineup to navigate. Exciting stuff, dude. Just super exciting stuff.
I don't want to think too far ahead with Bryson Stott because it's one game at a time. He's getting the ball rolling, but you're right. It is depth, and I think we've struggled to find like a guy that can slide into that 2-hole. I think a lot of us think Rhys Hoskins. I see it on Twitter almost every day that Rhys Hoskins is more of a 5 guy, but maybe he could give us that flexibility.
I've seen a lot of Reese hate too. I won't even get into that. People forget how streaky he can be, but I like Bowman in the 2 spot. I like the at bats he can put up, and I like the how he can spread the field out. I just wish he had more power. We probably said that on every podcast. I wish he had more power, but yeah, no, Stott's a prototypical two-hitter, really, isn't he?
Yeah, he sees the ball well. He can hit it any which way you want. He can spray it.
Lefty though with Bryce.
Yeah, but they're both different. Like
and Schwarb's leading off 3 lefties.
I know, but look at Schwarber, like that's definitely like not pretty, but like Stott and Harper, like you look at their splits sometimes, and it's like these guys, like they're not affected by that much.
Yeah,
they hit baseballs.
The Bryce lefty thing's definitely. We shouldn't even be making a big deal out of that. Like that guy crushes everything. But I do think
hit ball.
I do think Schwarber in front of another lefty might pose some problems because I don't think Schwarber's terribly good against lefties. But it is interesting. It is pretty interesting, like you said. Something to think about.
Well, that wraps up for me. Yeah, no, that's all I got. I'm ready to go tune into this Brewers series. Hopefully we keep the ball moving.
Yeah, I feel a lot better about our chances of doing that this week than I did last week. But anyway, yeah, no, that'll do it for today's episode. Thank you guys for listening. Like we said last week, we're with Pick Swap Media Group, and give us that follow on YouTube. You know, we're talking Phils, Sixers, Eagles, all kinds of Philly sports, and you know, we always appreciate the support. And if you're listening to this podcast, we are also on YouTube, and you can come see us talk Phils.
Yeah, we're definitely a lot more interesting on YouTube when you get to see our faces.
Yeah, you can see some of my reactions to Johnny's takes, and it's a little more interactive. So we recommend you do that, and yeah, that'll do it. Thank you guys for listening, and we will talk to you next week.
Go Phils!